In 1912, a quiet, bespectacled book dealer walked into a crumbling Jesuit villa just outside Rome and walked out with a mystery that would outlive him. His name was Wilfrid Voynich. He had spent years hunting rare manuscripts in forgotten libraries and dusty monastic archives, but nothing prepared him for the 240-page book he found locked away in a wooden chest, hidden in the private collection of the Jesuit college at Frascati. At first glance, it looked like any other medieval codex: vellum pages, brown ink, faded drawings, but the more he looked, the stranger it became. The text was written in an alphabet no one had ever seen before. Curving, looping symbols marched across every page in neat lines, as if they obeyed some hidden grammar. Each word looked like a word. Each sentence looked like a sentence, but none of it matched any known language on Earth. And then there were the pictures. Plants that didn't exist, drawn with the confidence of a botanist, but the imagination of a surrealist. Star charts and strange circular diagrams filled with suns, moons, and zodiac symbols, arranged in patterns that made no astronomical sense. Naked women bathing in green pools, connected by pipes and tubes to impossible machines. Voynich knew instantly, whatever this was, it was unique. He bought it. For a rare book dealer, that should have been a victory. Instead, it became an obsession. The volume came with a letter dated 1665 or 1666, written by a Prague physician named Johannes Marcus Marci. Marci claimed that the book had once belonged to Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II, a ruler known for his fascination with alchemy, astrology, and the occult. Rudolf, it said, had paid 600 gold ducats for the manuscript, an enormous sum, believing it to be the work of the English philosopher Roger Bacon. If that was true, then the book wasn't just strange, it was potentially explosive. Roger Bacon lived in the 13th century and experimented with optics, lenses, and early proto-scientific methods centuries before the scientific revolution. If he had hidden advanced knowledge in a secret code, this mysterious book might contain discoveries the world had completely missed. But there was a problem. No one could read it. Voynich began to trace the manuscript's path through history. After Rudolf II, it seems to have passed to a court alchemist, then to the emperor's imperial gardener, Jacobus Horchici, whose faint signature still lingers on the first page. Later, it ended up in the collection of a Jesuit scholar, Athanasius Kircher, a man famous in the 17th century for his attempts to decode Egyptian hieroglyphs. Kircher apparently kept the book, and there, in the Jesuits' private library, it sat in silence for nearly 250 years until Wilfrid Voynich walked in. When modern scientists finally carbon-dated the vellum, they confirmed an unsettling truth. The pages were made sometime between 1404 and 1438, 2 centuries after Roger Bacon had died. So if Bacon didn't write it, who did? Open the manuscript, and it looks, at first, like the work of a careful, methodical mind. The handwriting is consistent, the margins are neat, the mysterious symbols follow patterns, repeating and combining in ways that feel like a real language. Statistical analysis shows letter frequencies similar to natural human languages. It doesn't look random. The pages are loosely divided into sections: an herbal section filled with impossible plants, an astronomical section with suns, moons, and stars, a biological or balneological section with those strange green pools and human figures, a pharmaceutical section with jars and what look like ingredients, and finally, dense pages of nothing but text, like a normal book. But try to read it, and it collapses into chaos. Over the last century, some of the smartest people alive have tried to break its code. During World War I and World War II, military codebreakers used to dealing with enemy ciphers took a shot at it. They cracked complex encryption systems built by governments, yet the Voynich script gave them nothing. In the early 20th century, a scholar named William Romain Newbold believed he had finally solved the puzzle. He announced that the text contained microscopic shorthand symbols hidden inside each letter, revealing astonishing secrets, descriptions of spiral galaxies, details of the human ovum, and even hints of the telescope centuries before Galileo. For a moment, the world leaned in. Had the manuscript been decoded at last? No. Within a few years, other scholars demonstrated that Newbold's solution relied on seeing patterns that weren't really there. His method could decode almost anything into whatever he wanted it to say. The Voynich manuscript remained unread. Newbold had not solved it. He had fallen victim to wishful thinking. He wasn't the last. Since then, wave after wave of would-be codebreakers have claimed victory. Mathematicians, linguists, computer scientists, even enthusiastic amateurs on internet forums. Some argue it's a form of medieval shorthand. Others say it's an unknown natural language, maybe from a lost culture, disguised in an invented script. A few insist it's an elaborate hoax, a meaningless string of symbols that only looks like language. But the more serious experts study it, the stranger it becomes. If it's a hoax, it's a masterpiece. The text is too consistent, too structured to be pure nonsense. Hoaxers in the 1400s didn't have access to statistical models of language. Whoever wrote it, if they were faking, accidentally made their fake behave like a real language. If it's real language, we have nothing to compare it to. No bilingual inscription, no Rosetta Stone, no glossary. Just 240 pages of pure mystery. In the 21st century, artificial intelligence entered the game. Researchers fed the text into algorithms designed to find patterns in unknown languages. The AI could detect that the script behaved language-like. It could even suggest that certain words might function like verbs or nouns based on their positions in sentences. But a breakthrough never came. No one can point to a single word and say, with confidence, this means water, or this is a meme. After decades of effort, we are exactly where Wilfrid Voynich was in 1912, staring at a book that refuses to speak. Today, three main theories dominate the discussion. The first is the hoax theory, that some clever scribe in the 1400s invented a fake language to sell a worthless book to a rich, gullible patron like Rudolf II. It would explain the bizarre plants, the strange diagrams, and the lack of any clear meaning. The second is the private language theory, that the manuscript was written in a constructed code or personal symbolic system, perhaps by a doctor guarding secret recipes, or by a mystic mapping their inner visions, or, as a few have suggested, by someone suffering from a mental condition who turned their inner world into symbols only they understood. The third theory is the most unsettling, that it is a real language from a culture we simply don't remember, a tongue spoken by a small community somewhere in medieval Europe, never written down anywhere else, encoded in a one-of-a-kind script on a single surviving manuscript that somehow escaped fire, flood, and war, but left no other trace. Whatever the truth, one thing keeps pulling people back. The manuscript feels sincere. The plants are drawn with care, leaf by leaf, root by root, as if the artist believed they were capturing real specimens. The star charts, though strange, echo real astronomical ideas of the medieval world. The women in the green pools, connected by pipes and vessels, look like someone trying to explain a system, maybe medical, maybe spiritual, that meant something. It doesn't feel like a joke. Wilfrid Voynich certainly didn't treat it like one. He spent the last decades of his life trying to prove its importance. He courted scholars, wrote letters, and showed it to anyone who might help unlock its secrets. But he died in 1930 without reading a single word of the book that now carries his name. Today, the Voynich manuscript rests in a climate-controlled case at Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library. Every page has been scanned and put online. Anyone in the world can zoom in on the ink strokes, the faded colors, the stains and imperfections of the parchment. And yet, the central question remains exactly the same as it was the day Voynich opened that wooden chest. What does it say? A medical manual? A book of magic? A coded diary? A scam?
a relic of a lost voice we'll never hear again. 500 years of effort, from alchemists to AI, from emperors to internet sleuth, have all ended in the same place: silence. Maybe one day someone will find a second book in the same script. Maybe a forgotten letter in some monastery will explain who wrote it and why. Or maybe the key died with its author centuries ago, leaving us with a perfectly preserved message that no one will ever read. Until then, the Voynich Manuscript remains what it has always been: a book that looks like it should make sense, a language that behaves like language but never yields meaning, a carefully crafted message from the past, trapped forever behind a wall we cannot break. The Voynich Enigma is not just about one strange book. It is a reminder that there are still corners of history that refuse to be translated, secrets that survive every attempt to expose them, and voices that can reach us across the centuries. We just don't know what they're trying to say.
If stories like this fascinate you, consider liking and subscribing for more lost treasures, forgotten disasters, and mysteries buried beneath history. And share your thoughts below.